Right, that was your currency market update. We want to begin with this one. Ghana's international creditors have given assurance they will fast-track discussions on the country's request for a debt cancellation. This is what Joy Business has picked up from persons working with the Paris Club of Creditors. Here's more in this report.
Joy Business understands that it was this commitment that has seen government press ahead with talks with these developed countries on the debt cancellation. Sources say the Paris Club have agreed in principle to engage Ghana on the possible debt cancellation. The discussion is being done through the G20 debt framework championed by the IMF. We also understand that the request was made by government because it was one of the ingredients that could fast-track the process when it comes to the IMF board approval for the country's economic program in the first quarter of this year. This will convince the IMF that going forward, a lot more is being done by government to ensure that it brings its debt to sustainable levels. Sources say, looking at the way the discussions are progressing, it is likely that the country could have its debt cancelled. However, it is not clear for now their suited condition. This is because this is the first time that the country has got its debt cancelled. It got a similar relief when it signed up to the HIPIC initiative for poor countries in the year 2000. We also understand that this debt cancellation deal is different from other measures the government is already undertaking when it comes to its domestic debt exchange program, as well as its debt freeze for its external creditors.
Senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Daryl Kwawu, is on Zoom with us. Good afternoon to you. Happy New Year, Daryl. What do these discussions entail, and what will be the considerations? You're muted.
Good afternoon, Daryl. To you, Happy New Year. This debt cancellation debate is a good way to go. It's a way to ensure that our debt sustainability level is much higher so that we will be able to get the release from IMF on the loan agreement we want to raise with them on the $3 billion. And one of the issues that came up with the debt exchange program in the domestic market, and we've heard a lot about the individual debt holders calling for a class action, and they are meeting government on it. We have the labor unions talking about the pension funds. We have the financial sector players, the banks, and some other insurance companies also talking about withdrawing from this debt exchange program. That is going to give us a lot of issues when we want to go ahead with the IMF negotiations. And so calling on the bilateral debt holders to cancel the debt is a strategy to ensure that our debt sustainability level is much maintained so that we'll be able to go ahead to get the bailout and also free us and give us more room for more loans from the bilateral market.
What would be the implications for us, and what would be required for us if this pulls through?
Good. You know, this is not the first time we have gone through this particular debt cancellation issue. We can remember the HIPIC initiative around 2001, when in Africa over 34 billion dollars have been given to all countries. And that is supposed to ensure that these amounts that have been given are used for poverty alleviation. And so in going forward, when we are going to go through this cancellation, this Paris Club will require from us what we are going to use the monies for in terms of alleviation of poverty and growth and development in the country.
How does this put us in a good position when it comes to our debt situation? How significant would that be?
It is going to make sure that once much of our debt has been cancelled, we would have a lesser debt to pay. So the debt that will be left with will be the domestic debt and those with the multinational entities. And the bilateral debts and those debts with the Paris Club form a substantial amount of money, and that will significantly reduce our debt portfolio.
Earlier, you were talking about where the monies would go. Any suggestions for the government?
Yes, we went through this particular thing during the HIPIC initiative, and where they want to reduce poverty, they look at the construction of public toilets and all those things where they expect people to use those facilities. We need to look at a different approach in looking at those things this time around to ensure that we don't have public toilets, but we have toilets that are built in houses where people can maintain themselves going forward. We also have to look at government expenditure. It is not a situation that we have received money and for that matter, we can use it anyhow. Where government wants to look at businesses, looking at businesses that will grow. It is not free money that is coming in, and for that matter, government should give these monies to individuals to spend anyhow. But monies that will be given to these individuals at a reduced interest rate and a time period for which they can pay this amount of money. And businesses that come around, they should be monitored and scrutinized very well to ensure that there is feasibility in whatever they are bringing up for us to go forward. There should be more strengthening of the public sector activities that are there. So training and development, research and development, very necessary to ensure that the people are competent enough to carry out their various responsibilities, to ensure that the debt level is reduced and there is prudence and accountability in the resources that have been given to us by these bilateral countries.
Great. My last question would be whether, or does this mean an end to our debt issues? Does it? Where do we go from here?
Good. It is a huge question we need to ask. Is that the end of it? When we had the HIPIC situation, all our debts were cancelled. But we are back to this same situation today. And so that will not mean that, yes, we are out of the woods. We will go back to the same situation if we repeat the same mistakes. It looks like Ghana as a country, we are not learning from our past experiences. And for that matter, we go back and do the same thing and ask for the same people to cancel our debt. So the debts are still there. The domestic debts are there. The multinational debts are also there. So when the bilateral debts are being cancelled, does not mean that that is the end of the entire debt situation. But we must also know that there is debt to be paid. If we are going to incur other debts, the largest interest rate that we can pay on the debts that we are going on per IMF release is 2.999%. If 2.999% on 3 billion is almost around $9 million that we have to pay on this debt. Now, if government is going into the market, the international financial market to borrow, that should be a yardstick as to how much interest you are going to pay on the debt, on the loans that you are going to take. If government is taking loans at the interest rate of more than 15%, 18%, 20, 25%, that becomes very worrisome. And the market will not be able to sustain these things going forward. So it needs prudent management, effective management, and diligent applicability of the resources that are available to us as a country.
Okay, grateful for your time. Daryl Kwawu, Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Cocoa Board is forecasting about 750,000 tons of cocoa this crop season. This is expected to be higher than last season's production. There's more in this report.
Ghana achieved a historic feat of more than 1.14 million tons of cocoa production, about 45% increase in the 2020-2021 crop season. However, this fell significantly in the 2021-2022 crop season, though official figures are yet to be made available by Cocoa Board. But reports indicate that Ghana's graded and sealed cocoa arrivals stood at 350,000 tons by December 15 since the start of this crop season. This is up 76% from the 199,000 tons in the same period the previous year. The 2022-2023 crop season commenced in October last year. The producer price to be paid at all buying centers is 384 cedis per load of 30 kilograms for grade 1 and 2 cocoa beans or 800 cedis per bag of 64 kilograms. A ton of 16 bags is however going for 12,800 cedis.
All right, away from cocoa, the demand for shea butter is on the increase in markets across the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, mainly driven by the Harmattan season. Traders, however, say they are unable to cash in on the high demand due to limited supply of the commodity. They point to unbridled foreign merchants who buy in bulk at prices the local traders cannot compete with. Lab FM's Clinton Yabwa explores the situation.
The Ghana Meteorological Agency has predicted an intense dry conditions that may prevail until February. These dry weather conditions may be characterized by cloudless skies and hot days across most parts of the country. The conditions leave people with dry and cracked lips and skin and an intense paleness. In this Harmattan season, Shea Butter, referred to as Nkutu, is the traditional lotion and moisturizer in some Ghanaian homes, acknowledged as effective to contain the effects of the season. The high patronage of Shea Butter often attracts other traders to divert into dealing in the commodity. However, some traders are decrying the low supplies. Beatrice Kakari joined the business due to the high demand. She is worried her distributor sells to the highest bidders.
Into Harmattan, Namin Tonguto, Namin Pampers. Napana buy and Namin Shassa dear. Mrs. Tabitiman Chayo Tongutonia. There's also Namin Kofam Gutoni. No one I had done. They say China for a post one Echo 2 a mobile scan or move. I did be an ass or Machiaka, no more. I'm on Santos. Yes, we are no more Ghana, and he says Cassana.
Ajara tells Love News her prices have shot up to over 200% to meet up her capital. She reveals the foreign merchants buy raw and processed shea butter products, leaving finite leftovers to be processed for sale to local traders. Her shelf is empty, unlike previous seasons.
Chinese for now, Baba say to money in a motor a abano, Musa Tonkuto Nubu. I said they are 25 cities. First, no kura, you could do 2 cities. Uncle says, Sabons are hanging I am Manunku. Sir, or Moko job back, Ukramunian Kutu. This or my Anna Bakubakusa, Sana Buano. No more double.
Serena Seidu laments the high prices are affecting her returns.
First, I never from a trying 1 city, Miensa 2 cities. So they are Miensa 5 cities. If we are a sana, yeah, trying to sano, and we are your mom kind say no, I'm going to crow.
Traders have appealed to the government to take bold measures to secure local shea butter business.
Say someone else was easy. I must say, China for the bar more moving to and none else or more. It's getting me back from ma. One can say, maybe I need to come you and answer me and say, baby, better.
Shea butter is an ivory-colored fat that softens and hydrates the skin and protects it from the damage from the environment. Reporting for JoyNews, Clinton Yabwa.
All right, next our series on financial planning in an austere economy. I'm pretty sure many of us, individuals and businesses, have set goals for this year. And while that is important, you need a strategy during these uncertain times and very difficult times to manage your finances and meet those goals. Well, yesterday we began a conversation on financial planning, why it is important and what to consider when drawing a plan. You've heard people say, Accra stay by plan. Well, this afternoon we have help. Randolph Ano, Associate Director, Accounting Advisory Services of KPMG. He joins me in studio again to discuss this. Happy that you you joined us again after yesterday's discussion. So we talked a lot about drawing a financial plan, but I guess that the real test comes when you have to manage your finances, right? So what does management entail, managing your finances?
Okay, so in terms of managing the finances, usually you have 5 A's, okay, for financial management. You're looking at anticipation, where you are anticipating your needs. All right, we all do have financial needs, so anticipate the needs. Then you go through a process of acquisition, acquiring the funds to address those needs. So once that is done, then you are looking at allocation. How do you allocate the funds you've acquired to the needs that you've identified? Then after you've allocated these needs and the rest, there could have been some surpluses, so you go through what in finance we call appropriation. How do you appropriate the excesses? Then now you go through a process of assessment. You continue to check to ensure whether where you started from, you are achieving those objectives or not. So typically, these 5 activities are what one will go through to effectively manage your finances or your financial management. So these 5 steps or activities are what one...
That looks like a lot of organization. For somebody like me who doesn't have the time to sit down and do the appropriation and all of that, it looks like it requires a lot, does it?
The thing is, if you don't do it, if you don't do it, then you are putting yourself in a situation where you may not know how things are happening to you.
Yeah, well, yes, I say that because it appears to be a bad habit, if you like. People don't really like to sit down and put down those papers, try to, organize their finances.
Yeah, but thankfully, these days, there's technology.
Okay.
You go to the Play Store, not to mention any particular app, but there are several apps that can help you to track these things. It's a discipline. All right, and in this time when we want to undertake financial planning, you need to be deliberate and intentional about it. So it requires some effort. All right, so definitely it is not something easy that comes to us. For businesses, you have no choice. If you are running your affairs well, you may have a system that is doing this for you. But for individuals, you need to decide that you actually want to track stuff and put in a system that can help you to do that, whether you have an app or you on a daily basis will try to record it somewhere or on a weekly basis, but you must have some sort of a system that helps you to do that.
Well, it will be interesting to even note that some businesses, especially the small ones, do not have such a system in place, and then they are caught in a hard place.
Yes.
Yeah, and you mentioned discipline, which I feel is a very important word when we talk about managing our finances. How can one maintain discipline? What would be required of the person in that sense?
Okay, so in terms of maintaining, it's first and foremost, I think that you need to decide that this is what I want to do. And why are you making that decision? You are making that decision because ultimately it will help you. It will make you better. All right? We say that no pain, no gain. All right? People that go to the gym, I'm a bit skinny. If I want to develop muscle, I need to push in the weight, all right, so that I can build some muscle. So you want to structure your affairs. There is no other way. You need to decide that this is the way, and you need to decide that I will do that. You understand? Otherwise, the goals will not be achieved. You will not be able to achieve those goals. So it is intentional. You have to be intentional about it. You have to decide that you want to do it, and you have to, apply the needed effort to help you do that.
Okay. And one of the things to consider in managing your finances is the risk involved.
Sure.
Can you tell us more about risk management in financial planning?
So the whole act of financial planning, I would say, is something that you are doing to help you to mitigate risk. Risk management is you identifying the sort of things that may go wrong. So financially, when you're undertaking financial planning, you are identifying for yourself financially the what ifs or the things that can go wrong. So if I go on retirement, will I be okay? If I lose my job today, will I be okay? You have a debt. If Are you able to service it? So your understanding of risk management will help you to identify clearly all your financial risks. And then in the planning, you put in the measures to address those risks. So it is risk management is essential and very critical when it comes to financial planning. If you do it well, you may be able to identify all your financial risks and put in the needed measures to address those risks. So it is super important. That whole exercise itself, I would say, is part of the process of mitigating your risk, which is a key fact when we talk about risk management. You identify your risk, you need to assess the risk, you need to put in mitigation measures and stuff like that. So it is super important.
And I guess people try to avoid risks, and that's why sometimes they would not want to invest. We've seen a lot happen in the financial space over the years, especially here in our country. I don't want to mention any names, but people have put their money somewhere and they've ended up regretting. And so as we talk about risks, we also want to talk about investing and why it's important despite the risks, and where do you invest that is risk-free?
Okay, so we know typically we would say that the risk-free investment is a government treasury, so the treasury rate. But so that is in finance and all over the world. We know the government, come what may, will fulfill or will pay. So that is the most risk-free investment that one can talk of. But in these times, as you indicated, you cannot say that things are, because of the way things are happening, you would not invest. Because mind you, your 1 cedi today will not be the same tomorrow because of the time value of money. All right, so you need to be careful when you want to invest. You need to do due diligence, which is part of risk management. Where do you want to invest? You just don't up and say you are going to invest. So you need to conduct some due diligence to understand where you want to put your money.
Right.
Is the entity credible? So you need to do some work. And if you are not too sure, that is why you have experts. So consult the expert, consult the professionals who do this for a living, so at least they can guard your money for you. So yeah.
Yeah, you're one of those professionals. So if I've got money, where should I put it right now?
I wouldn't want to, and that is what I'm saying, consult the professionals, okay? It's because a lot of things goes into an investment. What is your aptitude for risk? Investment, you take on some risk and you get a return, all right? So it's on a case-by-case basis. You, that individual, what is your aptitude for risk? And one needs to understand all of that to advise you and to say, okay, maybe put your money here, put your money there. I'm not going to say to market any entity.
Of
okay,
course.
yeah, but do your due diligence. All right, there are a lot of write-ups out there. If you you carefully go through online and the rest, wherever you want to place your money, you can get some credible information to help you to decide, whether through the banks or other institutions that you can invest with.
Okay, and we usually hear people say it's during these times that it is best to invest. I want to touch on savings as well, because enjoying your financial plan, I'm sure people would like to set aside some money, save some money. What advice do you have when it comes to savings?
Yeah, so it is, we save for a rainy day, all right? And so in these times, you need to save. But even as you plan to save, because if you just save and just put your money there, or put it in a piggy bank in the house, or just leave it in an account that does not return anything for you, you are actually losing, because economic conditions are not staying the same, all right? So your real purchasing power will go down, okay. Right? So by all means save, but don't allow the money to lie idle. Find something to put that money in. If you don't save, you can't invest. So it is a step for you to invest in, because that's what you take to go and invest. Yeah.
We need to end the last words, 15 seconds. Anything you want to say?
So in this year, as we said from the beginning, you say Accra stay by plan. I would say in austerity stay by plan, so you can navigate these difficult times.
In austerity, stay by plan. Thank you so much, Randolph Ano, for joining us, have this important conversation. I don't know if we're going to see you anytime soon, but we'll certainly keep in touch. And thanks for watching The Marketplace. My name is Daryl Kwawu. We leave you